worst is the roads. They're in such bad condition. The medians are in such bad, the railings, such bad, they warp. They're the worst garbage. I don't know who the hell sold. They've been selling them for 30 years. They're such garbage. But they're falling down into the road. The roads are bad. There are potholes all over the place. And I'm saying to myself, can you imagine foreign dignitaries, foreign leaders coming into this country, and they go into Washington, D.C., and they see roads where you're driving over garbage that's been there for 3 months, been there for a long time, been there for a long time. We have some really bad people in our country that are doing a terrible job. We're going to change Washington, D.C. We're going to make it the safest place anywhere that you can be. Anywhere. A man who worked for me, who was fantastic, a young man that worked for me, was shot the other night in his head. A carjacking. They shot him. They said, we want your car, and they shot him in front of his wife, and he died. He died a week ago. What a sad thing. We're not going to have that in Washington, D.C. We're going to run it properly, not run by these people that are just horrible. They're just horrible. It's so dangerous. You can't go to Washington, D.C. to go in a park anymore because you're going to be mugged or shot. We're going to change it. We're going to bring it back. We're going to beautify it. We're going to take very strong measures on crime because we can't let that happen. The great capital, Washington, D.C., is under siege. I will always defend Medicare and Social Security, unlike Birdbrain and unlike, frankly, a lot of other people. Remember that, though, because they're not going to defend it. Nikki Haley, have you ever heard of her? You don't hear her name too much anymore. But she wants to extend the minimum age of Social Security by 10 years. So supposing you're just about ready to get your Social Security, and they say, darling, I have a little bad news. Nikki Haley just extended it by 10 years. I don't think you're going to be too happy. We have such great wealth in this country. We don't have to play around with Social Security and Medicare. On day one, I was signed a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school. Remember this, any school pushing critical race theory. It's so bad. It's so bad. Transgender insanity or any other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the heads of our children. I will not give 1 penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. And maybe the easiest thing of all, it's embarrassing to have to say it because I don't think 10 years ago anybody ever heard of it. I will keep men out of women's sports. So, the weightlifting. The weightlifting. A record was set the other day in weightlifting that will never be broken by a woman, I can tell you. I will fully uphold our totally under siege Second Amendment as I did for 4 years. We will protect innocent life and we will restore free speech and I will secure our elections where the goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. One day voting. And you can do that for 9% of the cost. Thank you. Thank you very much. You can do the paper ballots, and paper, it sounds a little crazy, but paper, it's called Watermark. They have such secure paper now. It's actually a very complex instrument, but the paper today is incredible. And you can do paper ballots, same-day voting. Think of it. You can do, and voter ID, it costs you 9% of what this other stuff that they do is. They have all this stuff, and they say, we should be able to know the final count in 2 weeks from now. You ever see where they need 2 weeks to count? With the paper ballots, France did it because they couldn't do mail-in ballots because they turned out to be totally corrupt. Mail-in voting is totally corrupt. Get that through your head. It has to be. The votes, it has to be. And in France, they did mail-in voting, and they gave it up because it was so corrupt. They went to paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID. They had 36 million votes. By 10 o'clock in the evening, everything was done. They had a winner, Macron. They had a loser, went home, and they started working the next day. There was no complaints, and there was no problems, and there was no anything going through the air. There was nothing. They had same-day voting and voter ID. They want paper, highly sophisticated paper. 9%. You'll save a fortune, 9%, and you'll have your answer by 10 o'clock in the evening. But until then, Republicans must win. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden, Crooked Joe, and the Biden administration have done. If you want to save America, then you must vote. You must go and vote. Remember, the primary is Tuesday, February 27th. We need you to get out and vote to set the stage for November. Go vote. November 27th. So remember this, there's a date that's very important. It's November 5, November 5th. That's a very important date. Everything in our lives should be aimed to that date because that's the date we're going to make our country great again. Because right now, we're a laughingstock all over the world. So in 2 weeks, get out and vote. You watch South Carolina, how we're doing there. We're doing great. We're up about 30 or 35 points on a governor who was not really very popular. And in conclusion, from Marquette to Midland, from Grand Rapids to Detroit, we got to watch Detroit. We got to watch Detroit. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. They had such horrible abuse. They had more ballots. Do you know this? They had more ballots than they had voters. Do you know that? Gee. And they didn't want to, go into that. And from Warren to Waterford Township. Waterford Township, beautiful. We stand on the shoulders of red-blooded Michigan patriots who laid the railroads, worked the factories, tilled the fields, forged the steel, fought the battles, and won the victories that built the Motor City and made America into the greatest and most powerful nation anywhere in the world. But now we are a nation in decline. Very sad. We're a nation in decline. We're a failing nation. We're a nation that has lost its confidence, willpower, and strength. We're a nation that has lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. We're not going to allow it. And remember, Michigan. If we win Michigan, we win the whole ball game. We win everything. Remember that. Nothing they'll be able to do. Don't let them cheat. Don't let them cheat. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hardworking patriots like you. You are patriots. I mean, here it is. You're freezing your ass off, right? But it's warm because there's love in this room, right? There's love. Hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it's hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. They truly do. They hate our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House on November 5th, 2024. Please remember that day. That's our day. The great silent majority is rising like never before. And under our leadership, the forgotten man and woman will be forgotten no longer. We are one movement. You know, we're the greatest movement in the history of our country. Make America great again. When Biden says, oh, we have to stop MAGA, MAGA, I'd like to say, do you know what MAGA stands for? He would have no idea. MAGA, I don't know. That's not a fair question. And then the anchors would protect him. You shouldn't ask him a question like that. No. I'd say, do you know what MAGA stands for? No, please tell me. Make America great again. That's what it says. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Mr. No respect. You got to see these judges. They're screaming. They're like lunatics. There's no respect. There's no decorum, especially for someone that they know hasn't done anything wrong. We haven't done anything wrong. We've done nothing wrong. This last case is we haven't done anything wrong. How about the one 2 weeks ago? A woman. I'm saying, who the hell is she? Who is the woman? It's so unfair what's happening in our country. Our court system is a mess. What's happening in our country, they have to straighten it out. All you see is bitterness and revenge and hatred. Judge Engoron just fined me $355 million for doing everything right. 355. And these repulsive abuses of power are not just an attack on me. They're really an attack on you and all Americans. It's a disgusting thing. I deal with a bank. The bank is happy. There's no victims. There's no anything. $355 million. I paid off a mortgage for a tiny fraction of that amount. I borrowed money, and they wanted me to borrow the money. I didn't even need the money. They want, because that's what they do. They loan money. They like to loan it to good people. So they loan me money, and they charge me a fine in New York State. Nobody's going back to New York State. A lot of people are leaving, a lot of businesses. But they fined me $355 million. It's the law. Nothing like this has ever happened. This judge is a lunatic, and if you've ever watched him, and the Attorney General may be worse. You ever watch her? I will get Donald Trump. Her campaign. I will get Donald Trump. I promise I will get him. She knows nothing about me. Nothing about me. She says, I will get him. As a result of this decision, businesses are going to flee New York State. They already are. Taking with them tens of thousands of jobs because they can't subject themselves to this. And if this persecution of political opponents continues, no one will want to do business in the United States of America any longer. We will truly become a third world country. We are already in many ways. If you look at our border, we are worse than a third world country because there's never, ever in history been a border like that. Joe Biden and the fascists that control him are a threat to democracy. They're a threat to democracy. Now, he's not smart enough to know that, but he's got people that control. The guy can't even walk off a platform. No, he can't find the stairs. He can't put two sentences together. And I'm not going to imitate him, because every time I imitate him, they say, Donald Trump couldn't find his way off. Now, every time, because they're fake news. That's a lot of fake news back there. A lot of fake news. Now, every time I imitate him, last week I imitated him, and you know the way he goes like this. He finishes a speech, it takes about 2.5 minutes, because that's when his energy runs out, right? You know, energy. You know, he's got a lot of energy. What happened to that cocaine in the White House? Whatever happened? He's got a lot of energy, this guy. You know, I never spoke about him until they indicted me. And once they indicted me, I can now just speak the way I want to speak. He's a corrupt person. He's a horrible president, the worst we've ever had. The happiest man in our country today is a man named Jimmy Carter, because he is considered a brilliant president by comparison. That's true. He's brilliant. Congress ought to impeach crooked Joe Biden for attacking his political opponent by weaponizing the DOJ, FBI, and even local DAs and attorney generals against his opponent, me. They ought to do that. As Byron York, did you ever hear of Byron York, great writer? From the Washington Examiner said, quote, the Justice Department forbids prosecutorial interference with elections. Very simple. The guidelines are very clear. Now, he's just writing the rules. He's a great talent, and he's writing the rules, and he's quoting the rules because nobody knows them. Not even lawyers seem to know them. Federal prosecutors and agents may never select the timing of any action, including investigative steps, criminal charges, or statements, for the purpose of affecting any election or for the purpose of giving an advantage or disadvantage to any candidate or a political party. Now, so they're saying you can't be doing what they're doing to me now because we're in the midst of an election. We just had three beauties, and actually four, including the islands. We won them all in landslides. You're not allowed to do what they're doing. You've got South Carolina coming up, Michigan coming up, and then Super Tuesday coming up in 2 weeks. And they want me so badly, these guys, because you know what? We're beating Biden we're clobbering this guy. Who the hell wouldn't? We're beating him. Prosecutor deranged Jack Smith is in a very big hurry. I mean, this guy is working so hard. He's a crooked guy. Deranged Jack Smith. He's a prosecutor. They brought him out to try and do damage. And he's done a lot of damage to a lot of people, and he's been overturned by the United States Supreme Court unanimously. But he always fails because he goes too far. He's an animal. But he's not allowed to say why. But the reason has been obvious all along. He wants Trump to be tried and convicted so that we get hurt for the November 5th date. And he's not going to hurt us because this is my poll numbers today are much higher than they were 3 months ago because of this. Our poll, It's actually our poll because we're all in this thing together. We're all in this mess together. We're going to straighten this country out. We cannot let this injustice stand, and that's why I will fight crooked Joe Biden's weaponized persecution at every step, and we will win. We're going to win. This is going to be the biggest win ever. This is going to be bigger than 2016. Be bigger than 2016. With your support, we're going to rocket the Republican nomination. We are going to get this. We're going to have so many voters out there that whether they cheat or not, it's not going to matter. You know, at a certain, because they only cheat. How the hell do you get elected if you have open borders and high interest rates and you can't buy a car? And if you do buy a car, they want you to buy an electric car, which doesn't go very far. And the United Auto Workers, this guy, Sean Fain, what the contract that he entered in, you know, all those cars are going to be made in China within 3 years. I hope they know that. The auto workers are all, I think the auto workers, I met a couple of them back. Raise your hand if there is one guy right there. Do you agree with me? He sold you out. I had a guy, he had the strongest build I've ever seen. I said, I'd love a body like that. Where is that guy? Where is that? Right there's one. These guys are, so you're lifting, you know, a lot of stuff. You got to, by nature. And then they go and work out after work. I mean, explain that one. But no, I met a lot of the auto workers backstage, and they're great people, but they're being sold out. We're going to bring auto workers back to the country. We're going to have all sorts. You want electric, you want a hybrid. We're bringing everything back. You can have your choice. The problem is electric doesn't go very far, you know? You're driving along, and you're petrified. Oh, I'm going to front. They say, next charging booth, 93 miles. Go west, 93 miles. The whole thing is crazy. And you know, if we built all the charging booths that are necessary, our country would go bankrupt. You know that, Pete? The country, it would cost like $3 trillion, more money. It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But we're dealing with a lot. He's a very low IQ individual, our president. I would be willing to bet that Joe Biden, of all the presidents, we've had a lot of them, he is the lowest IQ individual of any president ever. And he's telling us to get rid of our cars. They want to make trucks all electric. The problem is they don't go far either. And you'd have to have half of the capacity of the truck would be devoted to a battery. I don't know if you know this. They want to make our army tanks, you know, the beautiful army tanks. They want to make them into all electric. So that as we enter a country to obliterate it, at least we give them nice, clean air, beautiful air to breathe as we obliterate them. Crooked Joe has ordered a hit job on Michigan manufacturing with his insane electric vehicle mandate. Do the auto workers here, of which we have a lot, do you agree with that? There's the guy. Come on up here, come here. Come on up. This never works out, you know that, right? That's okay. No, I like this guy. I met him backstage. He's great. Come on up. Secret Service is thrilled. You know when we do this stuff? And you look at the guy, he could rip you apart. Come on up. I like this guy. Come on, come here. Say something. Take that thing off. Take that thing. Look at this guy.
Thank you, President Trump. We got your back. The auto workers are going to support this guy like we did in 16, 20. We're going to do it again in 24. Everybody's going to get out and vote. We're going to vote 85.
We're going to have big investments from other companies, and we're looking. Look, we're going to put tariffs on cars. I did it with China. I stopped that inflow with China. We took in $444 billion from China. No president has ever taken in 10 cents. And you know what? I protected the auto workers by doing that because cars were actually taxed when they come in. And if we don't do that, that's what they do to us. That's what they do to us. So we're going to bring manufacturing back. And look, I get along great. The president of Mexico, great person, great person. But what Mexico's done to this country in terms of auto, do you realize what Mexico's done in terms of the auto workers? A friend of mine builds big plants. He's a big supporter. Build big auto plants. I said, I'd like to go take a look at some of your plants because I find it very interesting. I want to know exactly what I like to build, and I like to see things like this. He said, good, but we really have to go to Mexico. I said, what do you mean? You build them here, right? Yeah, I do, but the big ones are being built in Mexico. I said, isn't that a shame, right? This is just a guy telling me, you know, no axe to grind. He said, the big plants, President, he's a friend of mine. He used to call me Donald. Now he calls me President. I said, call me Donald. He said, I'll try. And he said, Donald, the big plants, the ones that you really have to see are the ones that we're building in Mexico. They're unbelievable. I said, how much bigger, how much better? He said, far more advanced, double, triple the size of what's happening in the United States. So, President, I said, Donald, President. He couldn't do it. But that's nice that he couldn't. You know what? That's a sign of respect, right? He couldn't call me by for 20 years, he called me Donald. He can't call me Don. I have that with a lot of friends. They used to call me Donnie. They used to call me Don, DJ. Now they all call me president. I say, call me loosen. I say, loosen up. Loosen up. You've been my friend for 25 years. Loosen up. But the big plants are all being built in Mexico. And I'll give you a worse one. China now is building plants in Mexico and selling the cars to the United States. What the hell does that do for us? They're building plants in Mexico, right across the border, and the cars are being sold tax-free into the United States. I will stop that the first day. The first day. A vote for Biden is a vote to send tens of thousands of Michigan jobs to China and other places that we don't want them to go. A vote for Trump is a vote to keep those manufacturing jobs in America and add a lot of jobs. We could get, within a very short period of time, just through taxation of people that don't love us, we could get everybody to start moving back here because it wouldn't be economically feasible for them to build in Mexico or China or other places. And it will just take the stroke of a pen, and I can do that very quickly. Biden's ridiculous electric vehicle mandate and his Green New Scam are these are what they're pushing. The Green New Scam. Nobody even knows what the hell's going on. The Green New Scam. They talk about, they don't want anything built with any form of petroleum product. They want wind. But what happens if the wind doesn't blow? They don't know. It's hard to store wind energy, right? You know that. So they want wind or they want solar, they want all things. It's not big enough to fire up your plants. It's not good. It's not consistent. So Germany tried it, and they went bust. And now they're building coal plants all over the place. And they're building nuclear. They closed up all their nuclear, all their coal. Now they're reopening them. It didn't work. They have suffered greatly. Other countries, it hasn't worked. Why do we have to be doing this? It's not going to work. We need to fire up our plants with petroleum if it's necessary. Whatever the hell it takes. Nice, clean, natural gas. Did you ever hear of a thing called clean coal? Clean coal, they do great things with coal, too. And we have more of all of these products than anybody anywhere in the world. I call it liquid gold. We have more liquid gold than any country anywhere in the world, including Saudi Arabia, including Russia. And we don't use it. We're now buying oil from Venezuela. We're not buying oil, we're buying tar. We're buying tar. It's very thick. And you know where we clean the tar? In Houston, Texas. It's the only refinery in the whole country that can clean this tar. And that's what we do. And that goes into the air. And I guess, they'll figure out what happens with it. But it's very sad. China is building a coal plant a week, a big coal plant a week. And then they see, well, they finally fired Kerry. He got fired. To me, that was a great thing. He'd go to China. They're building a plant a week. And he'd tell them all of the problems with coal. And they're saying, oh, yes, we agree. In the meantime, they authorized about 70 new plants for next year. The whole thing, we are like the stupid country. The stupid country. But we will be the stupid country no longer. And we had it going. We built the greatest economy in the history of our country. And we will get it back, and we will do it again. And we're going to close that border, and we're going to drill, baby, drill, and we're going to do all sorts of things. We had the strongest border. We had the strongest border in the recorded history of our country, by far. We had it down to a level that they'd never seen before. We built 571 miles of wall. We had it down. We were going to build another 200. It was all done. Then the election was rigged, and we couldn't put it up. We had 3 weeks. It was all there. And all they had to do was put up the slats, put them up. It was all done. 200 miles. Actually built 300 miles more than I said we were going to do. All they had to do was put it up. And you know what? They took over, and they didn't put it up. They sold the stuff for 5 cents on the dollar. Think of it. For 5 cents, and it's expensive. It's what the Border Patrol wanted. I wanted concrete slabs, and they wanted to have steel.